Hello, everyone. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Thank you so much for joining us. What I've got for you today is going to be different than any of the 300-plus shows that I've delivered thus far. Sitting in front of me right now is Xavier De Richemont. Did I pronounce that correctly?
C'est parfait.
I didn't. Very, very good. And he is here in Mobile, Alabama. He works in Angers, France. I'm trying to pronounce these things correctly. Angers, France. His artwork has been featured in Vendée. Did I pronounce that correct?
Oui, yeah.
Works in Vendée. Chart, down in Mexico. I suspect it's Mexico City. San Antonio, Marrakesh, the French Embassy in India. In France, in Cajamarca, Peru. Monterrey, Mexico. Terrain, all over the world. And we here in Mobile are entertaining this man because a group of private investors have brought him here to cast his artwork on the wall of the Mobile History Museum. And we're going to talk about the artwork. It's a light medium. It's painting and cast in light. I don't know the exact language to use here, but we're going to figure this out. Xavier, first and foremost, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working and welcome to Mobile, Alabama.
Thank you, Cam. I'm happy to be here.
You've been here about 6 or 8 days now. And every time I've seen you, this is the third time I've seen you since you got here, you've been carrying a camera everywhere, taking pictures, I suppose, of things that will be feature pieces or could be focus pieces in your upcoming display on the Mobile History Museum. Is that correct?
Yes, there are 4 items I can't work without. It's my passport, my pen here, my camera, and my notebook.
Yeah.
And this, the rest you can, you can find it anywhere. But my notes here, my camera, and my pen, and my passport to cross borders.
Yes, you must be on the road all the time. Tell the listeners about the work that you produce. Describe it for them. And everyone listening, there will be links in the bio of this podcast where you can see it for yourself. But describe it for them and why you're in such demand across the world for what you do.
Well, I'm a painter. I studied painting at the Fine Arts in the mid-70s until the early 80s. I worked with theater and opera and ballet in different places in France and in the United States, actually, for quite a while, until I found out that I could take those machines that you use in the theater to make light and to make images and bring them in the street. That's in the late 90s. And so since about 30 years, I'm using projectors that project images. In the 90s, it was slides. Today, it's video because technology moved forward and still images became animated images. And I'm calling that video painting because I'm a painter and I'm painting with a video means. I mean, video machines. The work is digital. Yeah. But the colors, the music, the movement, everything is done at my studio by my assistant, and I do the drawings, and we animate. You say that? Animate the drawings, and it's just like a movie that you project with video beamers, and which can project any kind of. I mean, it's the content which is important. It's not the machine, but the means is video. Video
when did you transition into the video? You said you were working in the theater and you thought you could do something with these projectors. When did you first try it? What was the first experiment you did?
Those machines are very old. You know, it's a European tradition to design with light. At the court of the King Louis XIV, the King of France, precisely the one who was the king when Alabama and when Mobile was the capital of Louisiana
Yes.
in the 1700s at that time. At the court of the king, there were light machines like mirrors, like lanterne magique. And this was to do some effects on decor that were accompanying the plays played by Molière at the court of the king.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a very French idea of decor and of lighting. And of course, with this idea, with technology in the 19th century, when electricity was created, was invented, there's been some bulbs to light, like we have here. It was not fire anymore, because in the 18th century it was fire. It was dangerous, and then this everybody took slides. Not maybe everybody, because today it's something that you don't do anymore because you have iPhone, you have smartphones. But when I was a kid, I had a camera and I was taking color slides,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to project the slides. And when you're back from your trip, you go to the photographer. He develops your pellicule on your, I don't know how to say that.
The film?
The film, yes,
Yep.
the film. And they put that under little square thing, and you put that in a Kodak machine, and you look at the slides on the wall. And this is something that disappeared because of digital, because of computer, because of telephones. But this was the way to project images. And the French developed in the 20th century some big machines that could project decor in theaters. Like this tree, for example.
Yes, the tree.
The backdrop,
the
of
image
tree
of the tree
here,
on the wall.
It becomes a backdrop of a play.
Yes.
Because so that was kind of easier. And that was using light. So this is what I found out when I was student in the fine arts, and that I worked in the summer for theater and opera festivals.
So you saw the technology's capabilities. At some point, you had to apply your artistic hand, if you will, to the images that are projected. What when you create the images that are projected onto the buildings and we'll get into the buildings in a moment, is there a mechanism to that design? Do you have to make them in certain colors or certain sizes so that they'll show up on the building?
This goes with photography. Photography is a technology. You shoot something which is exactly what you see. It's not painting. Until photography was invented, it was painting. Painting was interpreting. So when you see a building, if you have eyes problem, it can be higher or fatter than what is reality. With photos, normally it's a strict reflect of what you see.
Yeah.
So I'm using this photographic technology to shoot a picture of the building from a certain angle, from a certain place where there is no interferences that bother the lecture of the architecture. I mean, street lights, trees, whatever is can be in between where my eye is and where the building is. And from this, I redesign over the picture my own drawings, and I reshape, redesign, and I'm using the architecture as a structure.
Yes.
As something which will structure the composition, so that each part of architecture can remind some elements I want to bring into the composition in order to suggest some situations or some moments in history. For example,
Right.
I can show on a column in a facade. I can show a Greek column, then it becomes Corinthian, Roman, and then it becomes a classical, and then it becomes modern.
Yes.
It's the same piece of architecture, but I redraw on the facade so that this column goes from 500 years before Christ to today.
Do you hand draw these things as you're creating the art, or is it graphically driven with a computer?
I do a lot of drawings. I redraw all the facade.
Yeah.
But then in my studio, I have a few assistants. We're not a big team. We're 4 or 5, not more, and we work on one project at a time with a time dedicated to the project.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the reasons for me to be working on some project and not try to have 5 projects at the same time.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you need immersion. You need to be inside your subject. You need to be just like when you write a book. You write day and night for a week, and if you have inspiration, at the moment you write, you see more things. You think to more things. You connect what you've been living last night with what you're thinking this morning.
Yes.
And so for the work, it's the same. As long as you're immersed in a situation like I've been here in Mobile in a week in the Mardi Gras festivities, this gives an orientation to the south.
Sure.
To the thinking, right? And so this is why also going from a piece in Mobile, Alabama, and then working on a piece in India, it's such different worlds that it's complicated to jump from one to another. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
So this is why I'm saying that the work is on a lapse of time, a duration of time that goes from the writing. So what you understand of what you see, and I write it down so I can have a lecture of my own lecture of what is given to me by you guys who show me your museum, your whatever, and then translate in images.
Yeah. We're going to take a little break right now to hear from our sponsor.
What does it mean for a nation to be successful? I'm Stephanie Bryan, Tribal Chair and CEO of the Poarch Creek Indians. We believe a successful nation gives back. As we've built economic opportunity and prosperity, the Poarch Creek Indians have been able to give back to our neighbors in Alabama and beyond. More than $37 million since 2021 alone. From education and health care to tornado relief, learn more about our charitable giving at porchcreekindians.org.
So you're using both graphical interface, you're using your hand design, you've got your team working on this.
And my photos.
And your photos. If it's a 20-minute show, light show, of your artwork, how many hours goes into making that 20 minutes? It must be countless.
Shouldn't count. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge because
and I'm not even thinking about the time you've spent in Mobile orienting yourself to the city and taking the photographs. I'm just talking about when you get home and say, "Okay, team, let's begin to make this."
Yeah,
it must take.
Well, it's a full day for 3 or 4 persons for months.
Yes, exactly.
So if you multiply, I never did the calculation because if you calculate, it
suddenly looks less profitable at that point, I'm sure. What preparation needs to happen to the building? So we're talking here about the Mobile History Museum being the backdrop of it. Does the building need to be white? Does it need to be a sandstone color? Because you've got these different buildings across the world. Is there a color? For example, as I project my work onto my slides for my seminars onto a screen, that screen needs to be white. Do you only work on white buildings, or does your technology allow you to do any color building?
Colors, the color of the building has an effect on the color I put on the building.
Yes.
If the building is red, made out of bricks, I will be careful to the reds because the reds are reinforced by the color that is under.
Yeah.
If the building, so you have here bricks building. I worked in Scotland in a very beautiful cathedral called St. Mungo. But it was dark. It was black because of the smoke.
Yes.
Because of the charcoal smoke in the city. It had not been restored. That's 15 years ago or something. Maybe it's been cleaned up since. But then you need more power. You need more power in the lighting. You need more powerful lamps.
Yes, more lumens.
Because more lumens. You need more because light is able to change everything.
Yeah.
But I always consider the architecture, the color of the building, but it doesn't have to be white. It can be any color. But it's, I would say, easier, and it's more what you design on your drawing on your computer or whatever. If the color is clear, that if the color is dark.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah,
and something which is difficult to do is to work with glass, because glass is transparent.
Sure.
So you need curtains.
So let's take your cathedral in Scotland as an example real quick. How many times did you go on site and project the image until you felt like it was right? How many weeks of testing does it take till you say, I'm good?
I do not test.
It's good. You show up and it's good.
I would say I know where I'm going.
Uh-huh.
And there are two reasons for not testing. Testing is that happened when I had doubts about angles and to make tries. But usually I know where to stand, and I know what I'm doing. And also to set up a test is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you need to have the machine, to have the installation. So it can be also a question of money.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So if the project has money, maybe we can do that, but I don't feel necessary. What I do is that I show to the people I'm working with, I show where I am on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have no observation is important. So I go many times on site, and I look at the detailed architecture, because you can imagine that a broken line, if you're in front of it or if you're on the side, it's straight if you're in front, and it's broken if you're on the side. See what I mean?
Yes.
So these are surprises you can have, but if you're careful to that, that doesn't happen. And also the angle of vision is important.
Yeah.
When you go to the movie, you try to be in the center, right?
Yeah.
If you put yourself in the room near the door on the far left, and you may have a pillar in front of you, and you don't see, you see the curtains, and so you have a part of the image which is so. When you have a place like the Mardi Gras Park, which is wide open.
Mardi Gras Park, yeah.
Which in here in Mobile, and you got the History Museum in front of it, and you have the whole width of the building,
yeah,
where you can stand on the lawn in front of it. You can place yourself wherever, that place, and so. If you're in a narrow street with a cathedral, huge cathedral, that can be complicated. When you're in a large space like this, it's wonderful.
Yeah, a bigger palette for you to play with. Essentially,
it's the freedom of the people, because the people can walk from one part to another because they are not tight, because there is space, and the machines, the placement of the machines considers the fact that the relief of the building, the columns or the arcades, or that have a dimension. It's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
This works with the placement of the projectors, so that we try to erase as much as possible the dead angles. You say that, the projected shadow projected by angles.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is kind of a technical study which is not complicated, but which has to be done before you decide of where you're going to put the machines in a certain axis of projection.
Let's talk about the content of the shows.
Yeah, that's more interesting than the technical things. Things are because you can't work without technique.
Well, I when I first saw your shows, before I knew who you were and before I knew that you and I would meet, and I was telling Evan this, it was the San Antonio building.
Cathedral, yeah.
And I said, how does this work? How does this work? Next was who selects the images and where does he get them? And the artwork is there, and it honors the community of which it's there, of which it's being broadcast in the history, and it appears to make the community that it's a part of very proud of their place, of who they are and what they're, you do them well. You make a community very proud of their background. But my first question was, how in the heck does this work? We've talked about that. Let's talk about the artwork. Let's talk about the images that you select. I'm very curious as an artist if you allow anybody feedback into your images, because I don't work a lot with artists, but most of them, I've interviewed a number of book authors here, fiction book authors, and they get really bent out of shape when an editor comes in and says, you need to change this character, because that character the authors put their soul into that character. How do you select the images that will be used on the building and the stories that you tell? And do you let the community, which will be viewing the images, give them input into any of that?
When you push the door of a cinema, a projection room where you're going to see a movie,
yes,
you know more or less what you're going to see. But if you don't like it, you have two solutions. Either you leave the room or you look at it and then you say, well, I didn't like that character, but you're not going to see Mr. Coppola and say, you don't like your character, you're going to change it. So the work is done in close relation with the producer, the person who
commissions.
Commission, yeah. Commission and the work, the project, because it answers to a demand, to a need. The demand is, why don't you come? You're talking about San Antonio. Why did I go to San Antonio? The San Antonians saw my work in Mexico. They went to Mexico. I was working at that time. They saw it in San Luis, in the Potosi. Then I was working in Yucatan, in Mérida, Yucatan, on the museum, and I was doing the whole facade. And they came to Mérida, and they asked me if I wanted to come to San Antonio. And we discussed. They looked at the work. They say, "This is what we want," and come and see us. And we're going to do a work together. And they wanted, the purpose of those people was to have, if you know San Antonio, you got the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk is at the sea, at the river level, and the antique city, the historical city, is above.
Yes.
And they wanted people to go up again.
Oh, sure.
They wanted people to not stay all day. I mean,
on
all
the
day
Riverwalk.
It's okay, but in the evening after dinner, that they can go and see the historical city.
Yeah.
And there was that projection on the cathedral that was there to help to invite them to come and see the historical center, the historical buildings. And so the topic of the work was tell them about us, who we are, where we come from, and what's happening with the city. And so I studied. I went to San Antonio maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times before doing the work. That was in 2012 or something. The piece is still there. The piece is still there since more than 10 years, and we signed for 10 more years until 2034 in October, because it became something like an icon of in the city.
Sure.
And people at night, now you have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that go up to the main plaza. The main plaza is the Cathedral Atrio, no? What's the Espanol? It's a mission at their origin. San Fernando is a mission. And so people gather at 9:30, 10, and they look at the work, and then they go back for a drink and the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the success of the work is that the work talks to people about who they are.
Yes.
So I think, in any place, all my works are partly historical. They talk about the past. They talk about the future. They talk about nowadays. The pieces are in relation with where I've been meeting
Yes.
with you guys.
Yes. So you won't go to, and God forbid this, and I don't even want anybody to entertain this idea, you won't present your concepts to city council and say, what do you think? What do I need to change? That would be the end of end of progress.
I'm not. No, I'm giving a script.
Yes.
I'm giving a script because I don't want to make mistakes.
Yes.
I don't want to be mistaken into the order of how things happened or what happened.
Right.
But history is subject to comments.
Yes.
So you don't have one history. You have maybe 10 histories, depending on who is telling the history. So I'm also trying to stay kind of neutral, if that is possible.
Yeah.
Which means going to art, and art is a representation of the moment.
Yeah.
So if you want to be clear with the 19th century, you take paintings. I use paintings, 19th century paintings.
Yeah.
And if I want to show that we're in the 20th or the 21st, I choose elements that represent the period we're talking about.
Yes.
And painters, artists are able to give representations of whatever they understand in the way they do it. And my manner, my way of working is very dense. I put a lot of density in my compositions, and you can see everything inside because I mix all the, I would say, if something is to be discussed, all parts will be in. Maybe you won't see them, but it's because the density and the matière, the thickness of the video. Video is flat.
Yes.
Video is just projecting an image on a wall. What I'm looking for with my team is that we lay and lay and lay and lay images, drawings, images, and all this is moving and comes under. I'm a painter. When you paint, as long as the painting is wet, I'm call that working in the wet.
Yeah. As
long as the painting is wet, you can scratch it and recover the color that is under, and this is a painter way of working.
Yeah.
You put the matière, you put the material, and you add or you subtract. And in the end, when you're happy with it, it looks like the composition which is finished. And when a painting is finished, even if you make a portrait and say, my nose is not that straight, and you say, well, this is the way I saw it, and put a little light on it, and you look very nice. And painters have been representing the world until photography. We talked about photography,
right?
So the faces of the important persons in the 19th century before, and since the beginning, before photography was invented, was the art of the painters.
Yeah.
So the painters decided of the face of Jesus Christ.
That's right. He looks remarkably like all of us, depending on who the painter was.
Exactly. But if you look at Velázquez, which is a great Spanish painter, you certainly know, Velázquez was the Habsburg had really strong bottom of face.
Yeah.
They had prognatism, j'étais prognate. But the paintings, on the painting, they are prognate.
Yeah.
But they are beautiful.
Yeah.
So, see.
So you have the opportunity to interpret what you see for the benefit of the community to which you're going. And there are going to be people that will say he nailed it. There will be people that say, I think he missed this or something like that. When you get a compliment on your work that really means something to you, who is saying it and what are they saying?
You touch the heart of people when you talk of them. So talking of them is understanding them, and understanding is spending time. So it's not coming here for 2 days, shoot pictures everywhere, go back and do the work. I've been here. Mobile is not an unknown city for me, because in the 2010 I came here when my friend Bob Sain was the executive of that was called the Center for the Living Arts at that time, which is the Contemporary Art Gallery today, which is on the Plaza de la Catedral, of this cathedral place. And so I have already spent some time here, not for the same work, because the work I did was about the tsunami in Japan, and that was a personal work. It was not historical work. So it's slightly different. The same technology, the same way of working, but not on the same schema of storytelling. So now I'm here for 10 days, which is not a lot, but which is 10 days of immersion.
Yes.
I need to work on what is going to be told in this piece. What's going to be told is probably from the origin of this land, with the rivers, with the swamps, with the local inhabitants, which were the Creek population, the Creek tribes, and those people who lived here, from what happened with the Spanish coming, the French coming, the English coming, with the separation of the Spanish Empire, with the Mobile becoming the capital of the French Louisiane, with the Civil War, with the Industrial Revolution, with all this that made Mobile at the moment put on the map, then disappeared and back on the map and everything. This is what it's going to be. For this, I need to understand each situation and have the right composition that make people say, yeah, that's what it was, or that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about compliments.
Right.
The compliment is when someone say, yeah, that made me cry, because my grandfather used to be like this, or to work in that factory that's been put it down because of the crisis, or whatever. And that happens that happens often, that people come to me and say, thank you, because we recognize ourselves. We know where we are. So, but this needs to be done in the density of the understanding. This needs to be done in a short. You cannot spend 5 years into thinking to one thing. You have to move. You have to have your mind connected to other planets, other countries, other ideas. But the more you move, the more you are at ease with the movements. This is just like getting static or getting moving all the time.
Yeah.
And the more you move, the more you connect movement to movement. So this is something that has to be shaped in the moment of understanding of, it's complicated to explain that it is the movement gives movement, of course.
You're talking about the movement of the images. You're talking about
No, I'm talking about movement of the mind.
Of the mind. Okay.
Yes, that is translated in the movement of images, and sometimes it's confused because the period is confused.
Yes.
See, you see so many things at the same time because it's a result of the confusion in the way the history made. The war is confused. You have winners, you have losers,
right.
But in the between you have battles, and you have people you have faces, you have objects, you have ships, you have warships, you have the famous Battle of Mobile. This has something totally dramatic. It's a drama. No, it's something. So this has to be felt in the work. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how I'm going to treat this yet, but I know that there were some vessels, different shapes. There were vessels with iron, vessels with veils. That there was cannons, and on all this, I need the real object. When I was talking about paintings, because in 1860 there was Yeah, started to have photographies, but not much, and more like portraits. So you have portraits of Farragut. Probably you have portraits of scenes of those people who've been fighting in those conflicts. But this I can redraw. This
Yeah.
I can reinvent. This is the density of the picture I'm trying to show to people, with the movement, with the colors, with the music.
Right.
The music is very important. So that makes people have a frisson, a feeling. You do.
Yeah.
You have something that's it's something that this is the compliment. The compliment is when people say, "Ooh, yeah, I'm in it."
That it touched them in a way that they could feel it. We're going to take a little break right now to hear from our sponsor.
I'm Stephanie Bryan, chairwoman of the Porch Creek Indians. Tourism and hospitality are more than industries to the Porch Creek Indians. Providing a warm welcome is part of our heritage. It's central to who we are. From Atmore to Aruba, we've created more than 20 unique travel and tourism destinations, providing unforgettable guest experiences and life-changing career opportunities for our tribe and our neighbors in Alabama and beyond. Learn more at porchcreekindians.org.
So you're when you talk about Mobile, compared to many of the cities in Europe you've worked with, we're new. We're the new world. And our story is shorter than many of the cities in Europe you've worked in. Do you find it easier or harder to work with a new city in the new world than an old city in the old world that has centuries of history, much more so than ours?
It's what you decide to do that's important.
Yeah.
It's not the age or...
It's not the length of the history that's important.
No. Here, history started at the same time as in Europe. But the history of the United States of America is shorter in terms of historical facts, events. So we have more history because Europe is originally started the new countries. The Europeans started the new countries. But so we can go back to, if we want to go back to Louis XIV, we can go back to Louis XIV, or Louis XV, or Louis III, the 13th. So history is important because history is factual. Things happened. You have dates, so you can put, and within dates you can put international events. What happened in 1900 in the world? If you want to make relation, if you want to make links to what happened in Paris and in the United States, you can do that. Depends on what you want to say. So if you want to make comparisons, you can. If you want to show how people were dressed in New York and how people were dressed in Vienna, you can do that. And so everything is a question of what do you want to tell to people?
Yeah.
What do you want to say, and what is right to say regarding what you're asked to do, because there is a result to be given to the work.
Yeah.
When you hang the painting in your salon, in your living room, because you bought a beautiful painting, you want to be happy to look at it, and you want to keep it forever. So this is also one of the things I'm thinking about, because I don't want to work for 10 days projection and then things go, because it's so much work.
Yeah.
It costs money, and it has to be an investment for the future. Like in many pieces, I have pieces in Spain, in France, in Mexico, in the US that are lasting since 15, some 20 years.
And what we're talking about for Mobile here, if I understand this correctly, is the group of investors have said we can facilitate this, we can make this work, and it will be a lasting part of the city.
Yes.
It's not like the World's Fair that's here somewhere for a short amount of time.
Yes.
It will be a lasting part of our city for years to come, years and years to come. Casting up on the side of the Mobile History Museum, where people as fans of your work, or me, when someone comes to town that's never been here before, it's a place that I will want to take them.
Yeah.
To say, look at this. This tells our story. And this badass guy from France came over here and did it for us. So it's a really flattering thing for our community that there's a group of people that want this for us. And again, folks, you're going to want to look at the links that I provide you to see the exquisite quality of this and just the shocking detail. And imagine bringing your family and friends in years to come to take a look at the history of our city told in projection on the side of this building in one of the cities across the world that can lay claim to something as remarkable as this. Tell me, you've seen Mobile. You've seen a big part of Mardi Gras. I've met you twice before today at different events that you and I bumped into one another. And this is an unfair question, but what has struck you about our town? We're very proud of it. I am. And everybody, though, is proud of their town. Everywhere you go, the San Antonio's people, the people in Merida, all very proud of their part of the country. What have you seen in Mobile that we should be proud of? What have you seen in Mobile that stands out?
I'm very lucky to be invited in cities like Mobile or other cities in the world that have that are proud of who they are, and they want to show others that what they have been keeping, what they are doing, the way they are, is something that is valuable for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so this means you give the best always. When I go somewhere, I'm always given the best things to see, the best monuments to see, the best pictures to take, the best food to eat, the best people to meet. So this is because of you. This is because you make the work. I translate, but you give me the elements to build. And so, my work is to understand where I am and to assemble as many good things that I can find. So, of course, you show me your best. So I take it with great pleasure and great interest, because you're going to show me the Mardi Gras parties. You're going to show me the Fort Condé. You're going to show me yesterday we went to see the harbor.
Yeah.
You're going to show me your museum with the ancient, the antique pieces. And so with this and with what I'm told by people who know about your history, people who know, I like to talk with historians, actually, and so people who have a real clear idea of what happened here, because this is their job, because it is. So professionals are important to feed my imagination with elements, and sometimes it's not just it's not the historical fact that there's been a battle. It's what happened during the battle. It's what happened. Someone said something or something happened. This makes the representation more accurate and more sensible to the people who watch.
Yeah.
But so it's it's so nice. It's so. To be given the best.
You've been given the best.
Yes.
I suspect that you have.
So nice.
And it sounds like you're reluctant to tell me what stood out for fear of offending somebody down the road. I can certainly understand that. But was there something that truly caught your eye about our town?
Well, the tradition that you're keeping with the fiestas I saw is important.
Yeah, the Mardi Gras.
Yes, because this is something that we've been losing in Europe.
Oh,
the feeling of feast of being, what I saw here is that people were very true with what they do.
Yeah,
and so this makes everything beautiful. I mean, I like the architecture. I like your trees. I like your balconies. I like your columns. I like the river coming from far north and coming here and have the whole landscape with water. I like the animals that are inside, and I have to work more on that, and I have to go and see more places to take photos that I introduce into the work. And I think the most important thing here is that you are yourself.
Yeah,
That's
interesting.
That's what I feel. There is no fake here. And that's funny to say that because we are in the Mardi Gras period where everybody is disguised, everybody is dressed in, and it's fake, but it works.
It's the character of the town.
The coronation of the Queen was a great moment, and I know I'm in not in the ballroom in Chambord,
Yeah.
I know I know all this is decor. But you make it work. So no, that's very important because you are true with this. I mean, you are in it. It's your heart. So that makes things good, makes things like real. And it's unreal because, when it's finished, the city becomes again concrete and cars.
You've seen the soul of the city. You've been given a tour of the soul of the city and the events and things like that. And it's hard to explain to people what you saw, but you felt it. And I try to explain it to my friends, particularly from college, who live all across the country, and they don't understand. Why do you do this? It doesn't make any sense. But that's the point.
Yes.
We take our silliness seriously.
Exactly.
And we put it on.
Yes.
And that's, and you can say that, but until people experience it, they don't know what you're talking about. Let me ask you this. What's the commission, the building in the world that you'd love to get?
The world is so big and there are so many great places. Maybe I would like to work on the Everest.
Everest. That requires some big cameras.
Big, huge ones.
Yeah, huge projectors.
I'm not saying the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think that my work goes not to especially famous places. My work goes to places who need my work.
It's a good point.
And so, I mean, even a small church in a place where it's needed, I like to do it. I'm not looking for especially famous places. There are places all over the world. I could do my work any place.
The Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower, they put light on it, and that's good enough. And it's in the Eiffel Tower, you can't. It's the Eiffel Tower is a symbol. Put it bleu, blanc, rouge, white, blue, white, red for the French, and then put it green and whatever you want to do with it. But you can't do images on the Eiffel Tower because you call that a canvas. It's more than a canvas because it's architecture, but you need flat surfaces to show images.
The Vatican, St. Peter's. They don't need your work. There are people lined up to get there without your work. But how about that? Wouldn't that be the most cool thing in the world? To be able to tell the history of Rome on the facade of the Vatican, to include many Christian symbols throughout the thing, and popes and stuff like that.
Let's call Francis.
Let's call Francis. We need to hurry.
Yes, he is sick. I follow that. No, I mean, of course, any monument that has history is interesting to tell. But instead of the Bernini colonnade in Rome,
yeah,
I would more go to the Forum or to a wall of a Roman temple.
Oh, I see.
Because I think it's it has you can tell about the Christians at the Roman time, at the Roman period.
Yeah.
And it's more poetical, I would say, than the architecture of the Vatican.
Do you ever do any
Of
private
Saint-Pierre.
work? Do you ever have a wealthy person or any individual, I suppose, reach out and say, hey, I'd like you to do something personally for me?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
What is their motive? Is it an event? Is it what are they wanting from you?
Usually it goes to people who want to celebrate something regarding their property.
Uh-huh.
And last year, but I did that in other places. But I did a piece about the 1,000 years of a family in the same castle in France.
Oh.
1,000 years of the family, 1,000 year of the castle from 1024 to 2024.
Wow.
The construction in 1024 was a mode féodal, was a wooden tower that becomes a castle in the 11th, 12th century.
Uh-huh.
And originally, it's to defend against the Normans, the Normans that were coming from north, that lived in Normandy and that founded England.
Yeah.
You know, the French that founded England.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Norman French. We're joking about that the other night, and until today, and it's been transferred through male or female filiation from that time to today, and so they had about 5,000 people of the family.
Oh, wow.
Coming to see this, and this was something to celebrate. But I have pieces that are coming back every year to show the history of castles, of families. It depends, but yes, of course, there are personal wishes that I interpretate, and then I work with the archives of the family. And if I don't have, I go to museums. And big part of my work is to investigate and to look for the content to be integrated, to be assembled in the composition so that it's right. Mm-hmm. There is no mistake in the. You don't put a 12th century knight in an 18th century composition,
right? Unless
you're a theater.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a story. I don't think it's true. But there was a man in the museum, and he was standing in front of a Picasso painting. And the guard was watching him, and that man reached into his pocket, grabbed some paint, and added paint to the Picasso. And the guard rushed to this man and said, "What are you doing? How dare you do this?" And it was Picasso. He said, I didn't like it. It wasn't finished. When I came to see it again, I realized there was more I could have done. And again, I don't think it's true, but it's a funny story about an artist who looks back upon his or her work and wishes they had done something different. It's like an author who's been in that chair a number of times before, who may reread parts of their novel and say, oh gosh, I should have done this in the novel. Change something along the way. You've never had that challenge.
No.
You're shaking your head.
I think that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
I think it doesn't work.
You never call San Antonio back and say, you know what? I'm going to add something to this and send you a new file.
I added a piece last year to San Antonio because the person who made it happen in 2012, 2014, and his wife Cecile died.
Yeah,
and I knew that there was something to be done to mention her in the piece, so I added the 20-second sequence that no one sees.
Oh, really?
Because only me and, of course, the people I told them what I was doing that can see. But if you are some people have seen the work 20 times, so they can notice it maybe. But it's just. But this is not repentir. This is not thinking that it was missing, because it was not missing until she was alive.
Right.
And it was not because I regret that I would have forgotten something.
Yeah.
And so I think you should never regret. You can modify because but a painting when it's dry, as I said, it's dry.
Yeah.
So you can't go back to it. And I'm sure this is not a true story about a painter coming and finishing the painting in a museum. You can like more some of the works than others.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But I'm usually saying that when you've been, taking time and working hard on doing a piece, when you deliver it, when you hang it, when you project it, you must be happy with it, and then you remain happy, and you love your kids all the same. It's equal.
The story of Da Vinci is that he carried the Mona Lisa for 10 years. 10 years he continued to alter the Mona Lisa, and it wasn't until after he had died that someone actually took it and put it on the wall. At least that's what I read in the recent biography of him.
Of Leonardo da Vinci?
Yeah. You've seen the world. You've met everybody, tens of thousands of people in your lifetime. You have more experiences with the souls of places than perhaps anyone I've ever met. What has it taught you? What is your grand overview of this time on the planet? What has it taught you about what you've seen after all these places and all these people? And they're so proud of their world and the place that they're asking you to represent them. If you could sum it up in a few thoughts, what has it taught you about all this, about our world today?
I think that the people who have been aware of keeping the past alive and able to use it with the modern vision of it are good.
Are good?
Yes. I think that having the knowledge of what happened and being able to project this knowledge in the future is the best behavior to have. I mean, understand why things are good or not good, and project your vision in the future using this knowledge. This is I call that experience probably, but this means trying not to redo mistakes you've been able to understand, and that means being humble on what you know, and being always siempre. I was going to say always trying to learn more.
I think the word that I would use in response to what you've said, who display some wisdom. Display wisdom. We learn from the past to...
Wisdom is hope.
Wisdom is not hope. Wisdom is learning from the past to guide your future.
Wisdom is, in French, what's wisdom? Is not hope.
No, it's not hope. I don't know what it is in French, but it sounds much like what you've described.
Espérance.
Experience, yes.
Espérance.
Yeah.
Sage.
Yes. And those people are good, is what you've said.
Well, because there's one thing good in getting older, and is to be able to understand what happened, and I mean, it's experience to be able to use what you've been doing of your life to continue to do good things.
Very good.
To something. Maybe it's a little confused, but because of my English.
No, your English is quite good considering your native tongue. Xavier, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So the city of Mobile, let me recap this, may just well receive a gift from a community in town of his work, of Xavier's work, that will be broadcast on the History Museum for us and for our kids and for our guests into the town and our future. And this man is an extraordinarily accomplished artist. Again, check the links that you'll find in the podcast notes. Take a look and imagine something like this telling this story in our city. Again, Xavier, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cam. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. We'll have another episode in a week or so, everybody. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston.